sauce, the brown bits that have leaked. Those are juices that have leaked from all these ingredients, gone to the bottom of the pan, reduced because of the heat there, and basically become little pellets of flavor. At this point, just to establish the yin and yang, I like to put a little bit of sea salt. Just a mild brush because I don't like to adjust for salt until the end. And I'm going to wait a couple of moments until the wine is almost completely evaporated. The next thing I'm about to add is Italian pelati. What is pelati? I mean, really, the word pelati by itself makes people go like this. It's peeled tomatoes. What we've done, we have peeled tomatoes. If you can get them from Italy, fantastic. If not, the product that we have here in the United States is just wonderful as well. But there's something about Italian peeled tomatoes that just brings it to the next element. These are some of the juices from the strained tomatoes, and I want to add them back into the sauce because it will give us the character that we're looking for. You want to reduce the heat down to a slow simmer. Now, let me move this pan aside. Let's prep the fish. Palermo-style swordfish. What is it that makes it so unique? What is it that makes it so different? Let me show you exactly what I mean. This is a piece of swordfish. What I've done with this piece of swordfish, I have cut the eye of the loin. You can cut it this thick. This thick gives you a lot of protection because we're gonna have this braising into the sauce, and by the time you take it out, it's gonna be delicious. So, how do we make it Palermo style, and what is Palermo style? It all starts with the olive oil. So the best thing that you want to do, first and foremost, is to actually brush the fish with some olive oil. Now, once you've done this, there is the most important addition of flavor. This is a technique also that is not Sicilian at all. I've learned here in the United States, and I'm using a rub that I designed that has an equal part of wonderful spices on the inside. Black pepper, salt, onion powder, garlic powder, paprika, and brown sugar. Here we go now on the other side. Why am I brushing it with olive oil? People say, you're not cooking it as of yet. The olive oil allows for the spices to stick right on them. This that I'm doing for you right now, this is not the traditional Palermo style. What I'm about to do next is, now, watch this. We are going to put this into Italian-style breadcrumbs. And what I do, watch how my hands are quite gentle. This piece of fish is like the fillet of the best of the best of the best. You don't want to ruin it. You just simply want to coat it all with a very thin coating of these breadcrumbs. Now, once you've done this, especially if you're dealing with raw fish, the next thing that you need to do is to wash your hands. The fillet is ready. The only thing I have to do is cook it. Let me show you how. You ask another person, they'll tell you, you should use canola, you should use corn oil. And by the way, both canola and corn oil are some of the oils, vegetable oils that they use in Italy for frying on high heat. For whatever reason, I don't know how it happened, I'm not particularly fascinated by the aroma of either of these two oils. So the product that I use is an extra light olive oil. The oil is nice and hot, extremely attentive now. Now just let the fish cook. I'm gonna lower the heat to medium-high. And that's all that we want to do. We want to get the perfect crust. Now, let me show you to turn this fish. You put the spatula underneath, and you want to have another instrument that helps you in the turn. And there you are. Look at how beautifully all the edges have seared. This technique of using these two instruments will make your life easy. You know that I'm happy when I'm doing this. Why? First, I cannot dance. You ask my wife, she'll tell you I'm ridiculous as a dancer. But I know for a fact that the fish is perfectly cooked, is exactly where I want it to go. We have the perfect crusting with all the ingredients and all the spices on the top. So this is a most important step for us. First, we move the sauce back into position. And then using the same technique I showed you before, we take the fish, we reinsert into the sauce, and now we're going to let the fish simmer into the sauce for about 4 to 5 minutes. The fish is looking great, the sauce has reduced perfect, and now we're ready to plate. The sauce is the essence of the city of Palermo. I love the way she looks. I love the aroma. I'm taking extra time here because she's so beautiful. What I like to do is to put the sauce at the bottom of the dish, exactly like this, and to sit the fish right on top. Exactly like that. Now, at this point, we'd actually be ready, but there is one last thing that I like to do, and it's extra virgin olive oil of the highest quality that you can get, to just put it all the way around, exactly like that. With the first bite, you will be overtaken by how great the fish tastes, and then the sauce will come at you with all these different elements. Freshness that explodes into your mouth, and it's at the moment that you realize, mamma mia, what a beautiful place the city of Palermo is. And this is how you make swordfish in agrodolce. But the flavors that come from the ocean, and the ocean around Sicily, for some reason, to me, it always remain magic. And even now, I live here in the United States, in the town of Los Angeles. I don't live close to the ocean, but there is something special that happens to me whenever I go by the beach or to the beach to take a walk with my wife or to just take a look at the view. The view of the ocean fills me with a sense of completeness. I'm going to show you to make scallops with red pepper and zucchini cream sauce. But this is a special recipe. You know why? It got me out of the doghouse. Let me show you. Let me show you to make the sauce. So let's send in an explorer to make sure that we got it as hot as we want it. And I would say the explorer has convinced me. So here we go first with the zucchini. No salt, no pepper in the zucchini. Why? The salt makes the zucchini sweat. In meeting with the hot oil, it will splatter everywhere. Together with the zucchini, we add the red pepper that I've also diced nicely. Why? Sometimes when you cook, you're in the process of painting something. And I think that colors are just as important as flavors. You cannot have something that is beautiful to look at and taste horrible, or something that it tastes terrible and it looks beautiful, or even worse than that, something that has no flavor whatsoever. There's plenty of flavor in here. The zucchini, as they're cooking and picking up a lovely brown crust underneath, and now I go here with my mixture of spices. The fresh herb that I like to add is mint. Mint is very powerful, so be gentle and don't use too much, because mint could completely overtake the flavoring. Now, I want you to stir everything around. The mint is a very Sicilian herb. In my opinion, it's happy, it's joyful. It promises things full of smiles. Is it so? In my head it is, and in my head I guess it works. But I absolutely love what the mint does in terms of the aroma that it brings into the dish, but also the flavor. Next thing we're going to do, a little bit of chopped onions. It could be white or red, whatever you put your hands on. Red I put in because they remind me of Sicily. It is at this point that I also like to add the garlic. So one of the things that you're going to notice is that the garlic that I add is chopped. It's chopped because I want a quick sauce that you can do a la minute. And this is something that really fascinates me a great deal. In the making of sauces, there's the traditional way of making a sauce, which requires, a straining, a reducing, nothing wrong with that. And then there are some sauces that you can make in the pan quickly and really impart an enormous amount of flavor. This is one of those sauces. But where is the flavor coming from? And the first thing I'm going to do is go with a pinch of the brown sugar. Why the brown sugar versus the white sugar? Sicilians, we love to have a fight between the salt and the sweet. We do it in our desserts, we do it in our dishes. The reason why I prefer the brown sugar is because of the presence of the molasses. The molasses is like an extra free ingredient. Just to go on the sure side, we got to put the yang, and the yang in this particular case is salt. One little bit of the here and one little bit of there. Sea salt is the best kind of salt to use. Now, the aroma, I can already see in my own head how this is going to taste, and it's splendid. One quick deglaze of wine, and the reason why we want to use the wine is because we want to pick up the brown bits at the bottom of the pan. This is basically truth for every kind of pan sauce that you make. So watch this as the wine reduces. The last two ingredients, chicken stock and a touch of whipping cream, heavy whipping cream. Now you want to reduce the heat down to a simmer, and you want to let the cream and the stock reduce briefly. While the sauce reduces, let me show you how to cook the scallop. The seasoning that I put on the scallop is very unique. It's not an Italian seasoning. It's something actually that I learned here as I became passionate about American barbecue. It's more of a rub. Equal parts of salt, pepper, brown sugar, paprika, onion powder, garlic powder. One of the great things that I want to do is to create a beautiful brown searing top. The sugar helps enormously. As it connects together with the oil underneath, the sugar solidifies and crusts up. But as it does, it connects to itself everything. The juices that are transferring upward from the scallop, which are trying to escape because of the heat, the salt, the pepper, the paprika, the onion powder, the garlic powder, suddenly all these little tiny details that just seem to be names that you saw on a list have a purpose, have a reason. And as they do what they do, they create magic. Let me show you what the magic is as I turn the scallop. Look at this, the perfect searing. And this is what I love. A scallop to be tasting just right, it has to be perfectly crusted exactly like this. Now the same thing is happening underneath. And that's exactly what I'm looking to do. So a scallop's this size, how long would you like to cook it for? I would say don't cook it any more than, at this heat, because I'm going on very high heat, don't cook any more than 1.5 minutes per side. I would say our scallop is ready to go. I'm gonna turn off the heat. I'm gonna turn off the heat from underneath the sauce. And now let me show you how to plate it. This is designed for all of you who, like me, fail from time to time in understanding what it is that our wife will say. She says, "Did you hear anything I said?" I think I did, but apparently I didn't. So first and foremost, you gotta go with a spectacular sauce like this. But this sauce alone will not help you. You need something else that will bring you out of the pain of trouble. And there she is, a beautiful scallop. This in itself is spectacular. Yes, this is an appetizer, but this is the one thing that opens the conversation with a smile. And this is how you make scallops with a red pepper and zucchini cream sauce. The Northern California Ocean and the Sicilian Ocean are two different kinds of oceans, and they speak completely different language. Sicily is quiet, blue, romantic for as far as you can see, this hot sand, the white sand. The Northern California coast instead is full of fury, and it's full of wind, and it's full of sounds, and you see these beautiful waves just smashing against these rocks on the side of it. And what should incite fear? Instead, in me, within this whole chaos, I find my center. Do you know how to cook calamari? This is your lucky day. Let me show you how to make a dish made with calamari and garbanzo beans. Come on, let me show you how to make it. Most people don't know how to cook calamari. So I found that an old technique, a Sicilian style technique of just wrapping them with a little bit of flavored breadcrumbs really makes them pop. But for the calamari to have a great flavor of their own, they also have to be married with interesting flavors. And here's the beginning of a fantastic, fantastic sauce and a combination of flavors that will elevate it to a height as you've never seen before. First thing that I like to do is to add the garlic. The garlic is cut nice and thick. You know me in Sicilian style, I like thick garlic. The olive oil itself will become ultimately part of the flavoring as well. Let's go into with our ingredients. First, we're gonna put a little bit of pepper flakes. Why? Well, we really don't have to. My wife says, "Do you have to do this all the time?" I say, "Honey, a little bit of spice." And that's the reason why I do it. If you are too sensitive to spice, then don't place it. Together with that, a little bit of onions, and we've chosen red onions. You could do with white onions if you wanted to. Even green onions, as a matter of fact, will make this dish very interesting. Fresh fennel coming next. This is extremely important. Why? You cannot do this with any dry ingredient. Everything here has to be fresh. Everything in here has the spirit of Sicily. And what I find spectacular about the fennel is that even after it's cooked, it maintains this spectacular freshness. When you bite into it, you smell Sicily, you taste the ocean. It's got nothing to do with the ocean fennel itself, but in my memory, all the dishes that are connected to fish in one form or another have fennel in there. So what am I trying to do here? It's starting out as if it's a sauce, but what I want is a series of elements that pop together. Here's the sun-dried tomatoes, and the sun-dried tomatoes is giving us acidity, sweetness all in one. And the concentration of flavor that's brought forth by the sun-dried tomatoes are spectacular. If you're a Sicilian, you know that black olives, it's our middle name. What I've done, I've used Kalamata olives, I've taken the pit out, this is extremely important. Lemon zest. Lemon zest is a secret, it's a beauty. Lemon zest is a fascination that I have with all these elements of the oils trapped within the zest of the lemon, which are now shared into this. This zest, as it cooks, it was also going to have a texture of its own that's going to add to the bite. Mind you, I've designed this dish more as an appetizer than it is as a main course, but you can enlarge the quantities, especially on the amount of calamari that you use, and making them much bigger. Now, what's coming next is my secret. What's my secret? First and foremost, we have to have basil and mint. Why is this important? Mint, in my opinion, has a wonderful flavor that made it extremely well with fish. But be careful, because the mint, if you add too much, will completely overtake the dish. So when you follow your instincts, be attentive to that. Brown sugar, why is this important right now? There's an enormous amount of salt right now in there with our wonderful olives. And what we're trying to do here is create a bit of a yin and yang with this artistic combination of flavor, the sweetness, the saltiness. And just to make sure that we have a little bit of the yin and the yang, I always like, at least at this stage, to add a little bit of salt to make sure that the composition of this is complete. The next thing that we're going to do is we are going to add a little bit of lemon. And what the lemon is doing for me is bringing out the complement of flavoring that already was laid out by the lemon zest. And then we go with garbanzo beans. In Sicily, we call this ceci. Here's a little bit of white wine. Now, what I'm about to do next is a trick that you're going to love. More often than not, even in fish dishes, I add chicken stock. But I put it in my head that this had to be a pure fish dish. So there is an enormous amount of flavor in there already, and I want to elongate the sauce just a little bit, and I do it with a little bit of water. Once I add the water, I stir things around lovingly like this. Then I'm going to move this sauce to the back burner, and I'm going to show you exactly how to cook the calamari the perfect way. The oil seems to be nice and hot. Let's test it with one of the calamari. Oh yeah, here we go. Now, are you seeing how the calamari are plumping up right here, right now? This is truly what you're looking for. Now, you see, those are the breadcrumbs that are browning, and those breadcrumbs have one last bit of treatment. This is the Nixolino magic rub. Onion powder, garlic powder, salt, pepper, brown sugar, paprika. Why is this important? This is going to coat the outside of the calamari. It's going to hug the breadcrumbs that we have in there. It's going to give an explosion of flavor. The calamari are ready, so let's move this one right here. We're putting the sauce back on the heat, and I want to cook him in the sauce for a few more moments. So what you do, you lower the heat on the sauce, you bring it down to a simmer, and let the calamari cook in there for about 3 to 4 minutes. And then we'll be ready to plate it. I don't know, I guess I find my Sicilian soul. This dish that for so long has been away from my reality has found a way inside with a new interpretation from me. And I think this is what's beautiful about cooking. I hope that my recipes inspire you not only to repeat what I do, but to find your own version. And this is how you make calamari with sun-dried tomatoes and garbanzo beans. I think that in the end, no matter where we're born, no matter what part of the world we come from, we bring with us the ability to combine all these experiences and make them ours. So, is this a Sicilian tradition? Is this an American tradition? I don't know, but filtered through me, it tastes beautiful. There's nothing more beautiful than being in the kitchen and being happy. It's the greatest thing there is.
That's perfect. Scallops and zucchini and red pepper cream sauce.
Scallops with zucchini and red pepper sauce. Let's do this. Red pepper sauce?
Cream sauce.
Scallops.
Easy. Yeah, I think you just blew back. All right, and action next.
Scallops with zucchini and red pepper cream sauce. Che bellezza! Che bontà! What beauty, what great taste. Join me into my kitchen because today we're going to make chicken scaloppini with mushroom and marsala. So simple, so good. Chicken scaloppini with mortadella cream sauce. A simple recipe, yet very elegant. Chicken scaloppini with radicchio and gorgonzola. I love gorgonzola. This is an episode you do not want to miss. Why? Because there is a story in this episode about me chasing the chickens. Come for the recipes. Stay for the story. For most of you who have watched my show over the years, by now you know that I am slightly vain. I like my clothes, I like to dress well, I have a love for Italian fashion, but the truth is that I am this far away from working in the wheat fields of Sicily. So I have it very clear in my mind that a huge amount of delusion is involved in this image that I have of myself, and I try to keep myself in check by reminding myself who I am and where I come from. And some of the most incredible moments that I have is remembering what it felt like in my youth going to the farm and hanging around with my grandma. Chicken scaloppini with mushroom and marsala. Hey, I gotta tell you, every time I think about this dish, it reminds me of my old days at the farm with my grandma. First thing you need to learn how to do is how to cut the chicken to make the scaloppini. I like to cut it roughly in same slices, which we're going to pound into scaloppini. But the one thing that you need to do is be careful when you pound. So let me show you exactly what I do. This is a tool that you're going to love. Why? One of the biggest problems that I had pounding the chicken, I was slips all over the place. The technique is that as you see the chicken expanding, you can pull down and pull through. This combination sandwich in between two pieces of plastic is basically protecting you. And as it protects you, it gives you the ability to see exactly what you're looking at without having to worry how the chicken is slippery and sliding all over the board. Now, we have the pieces that I would like to go ahead and cook, but before we cook them, the one thing that I want to do is to flavor and flour them. What I have in here is what I refer to as the NYX Magic Rub. This is a mixture in equal parts of salt, pepper, brown sugar, onion powder, garlic powder, paprika. When it comes to the flour, be gentle. You just want to lightly coat it. And then before we cook it, you need to shake off the extra flour. If you don't shake off the extra flour, this flour will fall in the oil as we cook it and it will burn. So there you are. Every time you deal with raw chicken, the most important thing that you do before you move on to anything else involved in the recipe is to clean your tools and your hands. And now, we're ready to cook these. In the making of the scaloppini, you need to know when the oil is hot. And how do you do it, especially when you're using a pan like this that has a black bottom? Here's a piece of mushroom. I place it in here, and what this mushroom is going to do for us is going to tell us when the oil is hot enough to sear the scaloppini. Why? Why is this important? More often than not, people make mistakes by actually putting the scaloppini into the cold oil, and they ask themselves, what is this going to come to temperature? And as you can see, the mushroom is starting to show the fact that it's nice and hot. There's a bit of bubbling going around, and at this point you count down to 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. I know, it feels like I'm in Houston and we're putting on a missile up in the sky. You ready? Here we go. Remember one thing, when you lay down the scallopini, always lay them so that the tip of it pushes away from you. You notice that if I was to let it go, it would splash the oil over there. Why is this important? It is important because many times I did not pay attention to my own advice, and instead the oil splashed over me. So now this is a particularly good size scallopini. I'm gonna do the same thing, and off it goes on the other side. You can take the mushroom now, it's giving the proof. You can hear the sound, and here we go. I'll let the scallopini cook until they're brown on one side. As we turn them, you see some of the brown points that we picked up on the outside. These are very important because they give us a sense that the meat is searing exactly the way we want it. Why is this important? As you can see, the scallopini, in spite of the fact that I pounded them in thin, right now they're plumping up. The searing on one side is forcing all the juices, all the water inside the scallopini, trying to go to the other side. Within the same context of what's happening right now, you see them plump up because now we're searing the bottom of it. But remember, we're not cooking them all the way through, so at this point, it would not be safe for you to actually take the scallopini out and eat them. You want to cook them for a total amount of a few minutes, anywhere between 5 and 6, but some of that time has to be inside the sauce. So the high heat is giving us exactly what we want. At this point, it's good enough for me, and I do two things. Turn up the heat underneath, and I move the scallopini to a clean dish. There's too much oil in there to make the sauce. The sauce will be a bit greasy. So one of the things that I like to do, I like to lift the pan and pour most of the oil here on the inside. Now, one of the things that I want to show you is, you see all these brown bits in here? Most people will look at them and says, oh my gosh, it's a problem. That's not a problem. This is flavor for us. So we input about a tablespoon and a half of oil back into the pan. We wait for this oil to get nice and hot, and then we'll proceed with the beginning of the making of the sauce. This is known as a pan sauce. The oil is getting nice and hot, and here's when we start introducing our mushrooms. What mushroom should you use? You can use any kind of mushrooms you want. These beach mushrooms are the one that I love. Why? First, they have the shape of a tiny mushroom. They look like comic book mushrooms. And I discovered them lately. They're mostly used in Asian cuisines, but in my opinion, are a fantastic asset to this dish. You just want to let them go. Together, I'm also going to put some shiitake mushrooms, which are sliced nice and thick. As the mushrooms are cooking, they're also getting connected to the flavors left behind by the chicken. What's important about a pan sauce, and what is a pan sauce? One of the things that I want to do is to show you how simple it is to make great dishes. And great dishes do not require classical sauces that take many, many hours for reduction, clearing, degreasing. I showed you to do that, you know how. But this is something fun that you can make for your family, for your friends, with ingredients that you find in your local supermarkets. Techniques as easy as 1, 2, 3. So let me walk you through this point. Here, we want to ensure that our good friends are sauteing nicely. Look at the coloring that we're starting to pick up. This coloring that we have right here, this is flavor. But this flavor is going to go somewhere else. It's a mixture I have of paprika, onion powder, garlic powder, salt, pepper, and believe it or not, brown sugar. Well, salt and pepper is the easiest way. So if you do salt and pepper, you're doing nothing wrong. But what these elements do have is what I refer to as the constant struggle between yin and yang. It's been, for me, extremely successful, and I would like to show you how wonderful this is. The coloring that we have on them is splendid. And now we go with a little bit of chopped onion. And when I say a little bit, we just want to have a tiny amount like this. And you can use shallots if you want to, instead of white onion. But I feel the white onions are perfect. You see how fine I cut them? I want them to melt into the sauce, almost in a way in which you will not see them. You've always seen me cook with garlic that I slice nice and thick. But when you're cooking with something like this on high heat, fast and quick, then what you want to do is to chop the garlic. The garlic will cook within a matter of a few moments. But also, as it does that, it puts out a flavor into this very base of the sauce, which is fantastic. This is parsley, but you can use any kind of fresh herbs. This is really the base from our sauce, but how do we go from these dry mushrooms and how do we turn this mushroom combo into a sauce? And here is where it becomes beautiful. Marsala wine. Marsala wine is a sweet Sicilian wine, mostly used for an after-dinner drink. What we're doing in this particular case, two things. We're stirring very aggressively to dislodge the brown bits that have gotten caught up at the bottom of the pan. Next thing we do is chicken stock. We're gonna bring this to a boil again, and as it reaches a boil, we're gonna reinsert the chicken scallopini into the sauce. You wanna keep them in here at this point on medium heat. Why? It's a gentle reheating of the scallopini. The temperature is gonna go through all the way. The scallopini are absorbing some of the sauce, and you see on the coloring they're picking up. The chicken scallopini pretty much gotten to where I want them to go. Let's now take them out. And here comes the magic. I'm gonna lower the heat a little bit more. And now I'm going to emulsify the butter into the sauce. Our only thickener in this sauce is the butter. All that you need to do is just butter. Look at this. The butter alone, look at the thickness that this has as it comes down. Just splendid, beautiful, fantastic. That's it. The sauce is made. Scallopini are ready. Let me show you how to plate it. The marsala, by the way, for me is a memory of Sicily. I know that. It's me going back in time. To me, it's a revival of a recipe that is as old as the world, as far as I'm concerned. Something that was quite popular in my house. But the thing that really I wanted to do, the great exercise that I wanted to put into place is to show you what easy is to make some wonderful, simple dishes with common ingredients that you find at the supermarket. When it comes to cooking, the most important thing is not how expensive the ingredients are. The most beautiful thing when you cook is the passion that you have. Dear friends, and this is how you make scallopini with a mushroom and marsala sauce. I remember this adventure that I had with this one chicken that I wanted to hug. I don't know what got into my head, but I needed to hug this chicken. Don't know why. Somehow I felt that I needed to hug him. And this chicken knew that I always wanted to hug him, even when my grandma was coming for feeding. So in spite of the fact that my grandma was putting the food out and all the chickens would come in, this one was always on the edge, looking at me, not so sure that he wanted to come in. This one time I decided to make my attack. I said, you know what? I've been hanging around here for months now. I want to hug you. I never get to hold you. And I went straight for the chicken. Chicken scallopini with a mortadella cream sauce. A unique recipe as you've never seen before. Let me show you how to make it. There's a little bit of trick I showed you before. Why is it so important for us to have the oil so hot? I told you before, I would like to repeat it again. It's important that in the first injection of the scallopini into the oil, sear the outside of it. By searing the outside, we can ensure that all the juices will stay on the inside. I think this sucker is pretty much ready to go, so here we go. Now watch the technique again, because this is extremely important. We're shaking off the extra flour, and we basically putting down the scallopini so that as I let it go, the tip of them pushes away from me. Once they get into the pan, you want to let them go. There you are. We're getting some of the coloring that we want. Now, let it go for a few moments on the other side. Just to give you an idea so that you can frame yourself, I go by looking at the color of the scallopini. On the average, at this temperature, you need no more than 2.5 minutes per side for the scallopini to get that initial sear. And the initial sear is the best and most important part. At this point, always use a clean tray to put the scallopini back. You do not want to mix them with any of the juices from the chicken breast when they were raw that might have leaked behind. I find this to be extremely important. Now, there is too much oil for us to make the sauce. So one of the things that we need to do is to transfer this oil to a bowl. Now, we still need to put some of the oil back in the pan. Not all of it, just a little bit. So here we go with about a tablespoon and a half. The oil itself is full of flavor. Start the heat again, only this time we put it about medium. And now we start to add the ingredients. So the first things that I want to do is things that create the base for the sauce. So here we go with white onions, nicely chopped. A touch of red pepper, just because I'm Sicilian and I like spice. Garlic that I cut thickly. Why? I love the flavor. We're gonna let the sauce cook for a while, and this garlic will melt right into it. So when you bite into it, it will be as if you're biting into a cream of garlic, and it's a wonderful experience to have in your mouth. But I also like to have something sweet to go along with it. So here we are with a little bit of red pepper. You could do green pepper, you could do yellow pepper, it doesn't have to be red. Red happens to be my favorite color, so I put it in there. And now, the mortadella. We got to talk about this. What is mortadella? Mortadella is bologna. Hey, you think, you're making a sauce with bologna. Mortadella is, in Italian, mortaio della carne, which was the big piece of wood where this meat in the old days used to be chopped and beaten down and turned into mousse-like consistency that was then reinserted into what we refer as the insaccato. Whenever you put an outer skin so that the ground meat will season on the inside, like we do for salami, like we do for many other deli meats, the mortadella was the most popular. It comes from the town of Bologna. So what I have done, and for those of you that have access to either an Italian deli or any deli in any supermarket, when you buy it, do ask him to give it to you the thickness of your finger. So it's about a half an inch, 3/4 of an inch. It's a single slice, and then you take the single slice and you cut them in dice like this. Why is this important? I love the dicing that the mortadella has when this takes place, but also in the cooking process, it adds an enormous amount of flavor. But right now, the flavor is in the surface. The flavor is in the onion. The flavor is in the red peppers. How do we bring the flavor back into the sauce? And what I'm about to do next is one of the most important things. White wine, Sauvignon Blanc, I will propose. Now, watch the color of the wine. Look and take a look at what's happening right now. And you see the coloring of the wine changing. It goes to a deep, wonderful sauce-like brownish finish. These are the brown bits that were stuck at the bottom of the pan, which have been rehabilitated and inserted. Now, the wine is almost reaching the glaze-like texture that we like. And it's at this point that the next addition is extremely important. And here we go. Chicken stock. And together with the chicken stock, a little bit of whipping cream. It is at this point that we want to reinsert the scallopini in the pan. And that's how we do it. We want to finish the cooking of the scallopini in the pan. People say, Nick, now we have the scallopini. I would say at this point, no more than 3 minutes. We already cook them 2 to 3 minutes per side before. And this is the last final. You don't want to boil it. You want to have it on medium heat. And this is exactly what we're looking for. The scallopini have cooked for the right time. Let's take them out right now. Put them back in the tray. And we're going to finish the sauce, and it will not take that long. First thing is to add some softened butter to thicken the sauce. And I also like to lower the heat now to medium-low. Notice how the cream has already reduced almost to the consistency that we want, and I love it. And at this point, there is another addition that I like to make into the sauce, and that is parsley. We are done. The sauce is ready. The scallopini are ready. Now, let me show you how to plate them. All right, here we are for our presentation. We layer them one on top of each other. Once my wife asked me, say, Nick, how'd you come up with this idea? And I said to my wife, honey, I did it because I don't want to do always the same thing. And this was something where I was trying to bring some of the flavors that I love, mortadella being one of my favorite lunch meats, into the making of scallopini and still do it elegantly. Do it in a way in which it would mean something, which it would give a personality. And there it is, there you are. And this is how you make chicken scallopini with a creamy mortadella sauce. I mean, I'm telling you, you think chickens don't move. Let me tell you, they run, they fly. It took me forever. I remember running, I was barefooted into the fields after the chicken, and it just rained a few days before, and I did not see it. And as I was chasing after the chicken, pa-boom, splash, pop, in my face. I remember getting up, wiping the mud on my face and looking at the chicken, it was looking at me. And in perfect Venetian dialect was saying to me, ma tu sei proprio un cretino, eh? Which means, you're a real dummy. Chicken scallopini with radicchio and gorgonzola. Why? I love gorgonzola. Let me show you how to make it. Now, we have the chicken scallopini, pieces that I would like to go ahead and cook, so here we go. Now, let me teach you the making of the sauce. Now, we're gonna start with a medium heat. It's very important that you don't go with high blasting heat because you're gonna burn the ingredients. So the first thing that we're gonna do is adding our favorite, which is the garlic. This will keep the vampires away. The next thing that I like to do, onion. The garlic and onion combo is gonna really give a base to what we had. Keep in mind that the brown bits at the bottom is what we're trying to capture here. The next addition, I mean, it's not typical, but if you're Sicilian like me, life does not make any sense without red pepper flakes. Now, what I'm doing with the spoon, I'm helping as much as possible for the onion to pick up the brown bits. And you can see the change of color that the onions have at this point. Next thing, I have some brown pancetta. We're gonna add the brown pancetta. And together with the pancetta, I like to add some green peas. They can be fresh, they can be frozen, they both work very, very well. Now, it's an expansion of flavors that we want to have. So we go with some parsley and thyme. Thyme to me is essential in the sauce because it really opens it up. It's at this point that we add a secret weapon, brandy. How come brandy and why not wine? Well, I use wine for everything. Brandy has the pretentiousness almost of a continental sauce, something that you would see in a fancy kitchen. But still, it's a sauce, a pan sauce. We're making for chicken. It's very simple. And one of the things that you need to embrace is that life is full of opportunities when most people always go for the most expensive things, the most complicated things, and the beauty truly is not in the most expense or the most of complication. It's in being able to find within the context of simplicity, beauty, art, flavor, and joy. And this to me is a sauce that is resplendent in that particular undertaking. Now, it's the other ingredients, chicken stock. And together with the chicken stock, a little bit of whipping cream. Now, it is at this point that I want to bring this to a vivacious simmer, I would like to say. We got the gentle, vivacious roll that I was looking for, and now we add our chicken scallopini, and we want for them to finish cooking in the sauce. Fantastic. The scallopini are ready. Now take the scallopini and I'll let them rest in their own tray. And the next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna finish the sauce. The sauce requires two additions. Here is the radicchio, fresh radicchio, which I just chopped up. I like to almost cube it, but it doesn't make a big difference because it will let itself go into the sauce and it will soften up. And then there is the addition of the gorgonzola. Now at this point, arm yourself with patience. Do not be in a rush. Why is the radicchio so incredibly important? And why is the gorgonzola so important? And why is it that we add it at this point? There are two schools of thoughts. One is that you add the radicchio at the beginning and you flash it up a little bit on high heat. You give a little bit of browning on the outside, trying to bring out the flavor. But what I like about the radicchio is the taste that it has. Amarostico. Amarostico means a little bit on the tart side. I like to keep it unchecked. And I like to add it at the end so it still maintains its presence. My mom said that to me once, hey, you finally made me scallopini that come with their own salad in the sauce. And I thought it was very funny. And in a certain way it is. You've also noticed right now that all the pieces of gorgonzola have completely melted into the sauce. And we're pretty much ready to go where we want to go. One last addition. And this is something that I carry with me from making sauces for so many years. A little bit of butter. And we're gonna let this melt into the sauce. The sauce is now finished cooking. It's ready, scallopini are ready. I'm ready to go and plate it. Just because I love this cheese, I'm gonna add some more. And now the last thing that I want to do is turn off the heat. Stir it until the cheese completely melts into the sauce. And then the last thing that I wanna do is, perfect. The sauce is ready, scallopini is ready. We're ready to plate. This is a particularly dear recipe to me because it was one of those times when my mom and dad thought that I really had it going on. I did not start life, professionally speaking, as a chef. And this was one of those dishes that I wanted to impress my parents with. And I think the thing that impressed my mom is my ability to develop a sauce that would have a series of elements to it, but also a flavor that would be unique. And that's a point of pride for a Stellino. I remember my mom, every time she would serve something, to make a big deal with the sauce. I guess I'm carrying the same tradition. I mean, every once in a while we get to see our dreams realized, and this I guess is exactly what I always wanted. And this is how you make scaloppine di pollo with brandied radicchio and gorgonzola sauce. To this very day, every time I think of a chicken, I can see the face of the chicken looking at me, totally covered with mud, getting up, and as I look up at all these chickens now looking at me, making fun of me. But the thing I like the most is I still like running through the fields, feeling free, going after something. So the way I interpret the story is that maybe this chicken was just trying to teach me how beautiful it is in life to just go for it. Whatever it is that you had in mind, whatever your dreams are, why should it happen to somebody else? Why can't it happen to you? So maybe the chicken was trying to teach me something. I could have done without the mud bath, though. Yeah, I could have done without that.
Yes,
I'll sell it to you.
A way to transform chicken into a delectable...
I'll sell it to you guys. I'm gonna take a new thing. I saw a show on Fox. I'm gonna do it for you. You ready?
Yeah. Everybody quiet. Action, Nick.
Chicken breast stuffed with something. Eat it. Shut up. Don't change the channel.
I'd rather we get that. That's for sure.
The most beautiful thing about cooking is smiling. Come with me in the kitchen. Today, I'm going to show you how to make picchio bacchio consato, a very quick, fast sauce that is made without cooking. Sicilian salad with shrimp and calamari, an old-school dish reinterpreted. And we end with shrimp salad with cannellini beans. It tastes like paradise. I'm also going to share with you the story of how I learned how to play football. Go for the recipes. Stay for the story. It must have been about a week before I came to America. My friends took me out to see a movie. If I remember the name, The Longest Yard, a wonderful movie about a guy who ends up in jail and he plays football. But the thing is, I never seen the game of football. In Sicily, we call it football, but it's soccer. I never played football, nor did we know what it was. It was kind of a mysterious thing of these guys that put on the science fiction uniforms to play this game. But when I saw this game played at the movie, within the context of this movie, the first thing that I asked my friends is that the game? You get to hit somebody like that? And they go, oh yeah. And I go, wow, America, here I am. My goal is to teach you a salad that you can bring to the next time you get together with your friends to watch a Sunday football game. And what is that? Picchio bacchio consato. Let me show you how to make it. I cannot tell you how happy I am to show you my creation, picchio bacchio consato. I mean, really, somebody was to tell you, hey, we're going for dinner tonight. You were to tell them, picchio bacchio consato. You would make these people go, what are you talking about? And you're right. What are you talking about? Picchio bacchio, what is that? Let's start with that. Picchio bacchio is a typical Sicilian sauce. Actually, it's a Palermo sauce that refers to a very quick, fast sauce that is made without cooking. Consato. Consato also comes from the Sicilian dialect. Consare means to prepare something elegantly, to add something special to it. So in this case, there's almost a dichotomy of verses because we're using a very simple recipe to create a very elegant salad. But me, instead of talking this much, let me show you exactly what I have in mind. The first thing that we're going to do, we're going to add to the bottom of our bowl a little bit of chopped garlic. To the chopped garlic, we're going to put a little bit of salt. Sea salt is what I prefer. A little bit of pepper. And then let's go with the mixture of all the other herbs. we go with a little bit of basil, fresh basil. You could also add mint if you want it, but in this particular case, I want to go Sicilian style and use an herb that fresh is seldom seen, and this is freshly chopped oregano that has an aroma of its own. This, we're going to add now a little bit of white onions. So in a certain way, as you can see, I'm flowing through and I'm putting all the ingredients in here, which are the common ingredients you're accustomed to see in just about every sauce that I taught you in the past, even soups. Then we cannot forget a little bit of red pepper flakes. I have to stop because if I continue, I'm gonna make myself happy, but my wife will tell me right there and then, what are you, crazy? And I do not want to have that moment. Now, my tool. I want to mix all this together because we're going to add the other elements to this which are totally unexpected. This is pancetta. What is pancetta, by the way? People ask me, say, Nick, I love it, it tastes fantastic. Pancetta is pork belly. Pancetta is different from bacon because unlike bacon, pancetta is layered with an enormous amount of spices. There's garlic. In some parts of Italy, they put oregano. In some parts of Italy, they put onion powder, garlic powder, paprika. And by the time the pancetta really has aged for the time that brings it to its flavor, all of these flavors have penetrated not only from the skin down to the layer below, but down deep into the fat. So even the fat of the pancetta has flavor. Now, this portion of what we're doing right here is portion of the process that I call consato, which is prepped up. Why is this prepped up? You'll see in just a moment why. These are Italian peeled tomatoes. If you can find San Marzano, it would be great. San Marzano is the best kind. San Marzano is not a brand, by the way. So if you see a can that says San Marzano, that's not what I'm telling you to do. San Marzano is the type of tomatoes. They come from an area near Naples. And what I've done, I have drained them, as you can see here, and I basically mush them into a pulp. This pulp is going to be our best friend. Now, why am I doing this? When you make this at home in the old-fashioned way of making the picchio pacchio, this would be made early in the morning before people would go to work. And to this, the next thing that I'm going to add is some of the juice that was left over. This is the juice in which the tomatoes were packed. Why is this important? It does two things. First, it allows me to elongate the mixture. And I always like to keep it handy because I might need to add some more later on if I want to keep this loose. But look at this. The sauce is not cooking. Look at what an incredible color it does have. Mamma mia, spettacolare. You see me add the salt and pepper. This is a little bit of brown sugar. Why the brown sugar? What does it do? How come it's so important? Why am I using it? Well, the brown sugar is part of this whole new concept that I've gotten involved in myself, and is the concept of yin and yang, where two opposite forces ultimately create something unique. Now, keep in mind, this is something that when you make it at home, you want to let it sit for a few hours as a salad before you bring it out and serve it to your friends. You can serve it right away if you want to, but if you let it sit for a few hours, all of these flavors blossom, they open up. It's a beautiful spectacle of nature. Now, here's an addition that you are not expecting, nor have you ever seen before. Those are cooked shrimp. You can do anything with the shrimp. You can just add the shrimps, which are basic boiled shrimp, or you can actually take the shrimp, you can grill it, whatever flavoring that you want, let it cool off, and once the shrimp is cool, you add it to this mixture. And here comes the one thing that's gonna make you go wild. Let's talk about this, because it's something that you do not commonly see. In the old days, this pasta salad was made with regular pasta, and it could be anything from ziti, penne rigate, but I chose something different. And the reason why I chose something different is because I wanted to have even a further pop-up flavor. So what we have in here is a collection of tortellini, and I have different types of tortellini. I have tortellini with prosciutto and mozzarella dentro, and I have spinach tortellini. It's the color that I'm going after, also the consistency. Now, look what happens as I add them in. Now, these tortellini I have cooked ahead of time. What makes it interesting is that once I drained them, as soon as they cooled off, I added to these tortellini some extra virgin olive oil as I stored them in the refrigerator before I brought them to room temperature to make them part of the salad. We have this incredible flavor from the pancetta, this little bit of croccantino. What is a croccantino? Something that you can crunch into and has this fabulous explosive flavor. Then we have the boiled shrimp, and then each piece of this pasta, in this particular case, a wonderful tortellini, are filled some with cheese, some with prosciutto and mozzarella. Every bite that you take has something different added to it, but we're not done. This is a very important addition. Extra virgin olive oil to maintain it nice and loose. The last addition that I like to make is a massive amount of basil. Basil is one of the most fragrant and fabulous fresh herbs that I know. At this point, only one small addition I like to make. This is Parmesan cheese. However, if it wasn't for the fact I'm going to be sharing this with my wife, I would be putting Romano cheese. As you know, I'm a Romano cheese sufferer. What does it mean? It means that in my house, Romano cheese is not welcome. So I always make a portion for my wife, one for me, so that I can have some Romano cheese. Mamma mia, this thing is bellissima. How can you make pasta like this and not be happy? You know, pasta makes you smile. A pasta salad like this will make you smile forever. And now, we're ready to play. In plating, I like to use a spoon that gives you command, and a stainless steel spoon, a white stainless steel spoon, is the best way. Now watch this, because if you're gonna serve a salad, you also wanna put layers of flavors in there. So I just added a little bit more Parmesan cheese. What does it do? It increases the enjoyment with every bite that you take. Look at this, mamma mia che bellezza. Now remind you, this is not a portion for one. This is a big, good amount. This is quite a big plate that we have in here. You bring this to the table, you see people going crazy over this. And this is how you make picchio pacchio con sato. The first thing that I did when I stepped out of the plane, I asked if I would like to play football. And the coach was one of the people on the welcoming committee. It was me and a bunch of other foreign students that were joining. Said, have you ever played? Maybe you should consider soccer. No, 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 no. I don't like soccer. I want to play football. I want to put the helmet, I want the shoulder pads, I want to hit people. The guy looked at me and says, well, you built for it. You're big enough. You look like you got enough muscles on you. You just need to learn how to play the game. Yeah, well, it took me a while to learn the game. And especially it took me a while to learn how to put the equipment on. Sicilian salad with shrimp and calamari, a unique combination of flavor that will make you famous next time you bring this salad to your next sporting event, watching a football game on Sunday. Come on, let me show you how to make it. Mamma mia, this salad came together as a combination of many Sicilian salads that I've done in the past and in my youth, but I was challenged once when I was asked by some friends to come and join them for a football game. It was a Sunday at their house. I said, just bring something. And I'm thinking everybody's gonna be bringing hot dogs, and they're gonna be bringing this, they're gonna bring in that. I figure a salad like this, I've never seen before. So I brought the best of Sicily to them. Let me share it with you on how to make it. There's a lot of interesting combos to it. The first thing that you want to do when you make the salad is to make the dressing. So we start with a little bit of orange juice. This is brown sugar. Why am I adding brown sugar? Because together with brown sugar, I'm gonna be adding some salt, and then a little bit of my special magic rub. Now we already put this on top of the shrimp and the calamari. All that I have in there, equal parts of salt, sea salt always, pepper, black pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, paprika, and brown sugar. This is even less than a quarter of a teaspoon. At this point, we add the vinegar. Because of the fact that I don't want the vinegar to color the other ingredients, I've used a white vinegar, but you could use very easily a balsamic vinegar. And by the way, I think I've seen in commerce here in the United States, a white balsamic vinegar still maintains the density of the vinegar that is the balsamic vinegar, but has a whitish color to it, and it's got a fantastic, powerful flavor. At this point, I want to mix all the ingredients together, and then we're going to create the emulsion. And the emulsion is done by adding gently into it the olive oil. And as you add the olive oil, you want to mix all of it together until it thickens up a little bit, until all the flavors are there. It is at this point that I actually like to add my herbs. And what I like to do at this point is I'll add a little bit of the parsley. Now, if you want to make this even wilder, you could put a mixture of parsley, chives, and mint. But the first time you do it, start from the very beginning and put into the simplest flavors that prove themselves to be so better accompanied to anything else that you could put together. Now it's time for us to actually assemble the salad. And the salad is made of many, many different ingredients. Now, the shrimp and calamari, we are treated in a unique way. What we've done when we cook them, we added a little bit of the Nixtellino rub. Why is this so important? And this rub is not Sicilian at all. Actually, it's a complete departure from Sicilian tradition. But as far as I'm concerned, it's a new discovery that I had in connecting to the dishes and the flavor and how to spike up the flavor and bring it to another higher dimension. Then I cooked in very hot olive oil. Why? What does it do? How does it advance? We could simply boil them if you wanted to, but boil is such a simple flavor. In this particular case, instead, you have these flavors on the outside of it that created a wonderful crust impacted with all these nuances. And especially the calamari, which are plum top, are going to be your biggest surprise. To this, we add the oranges. You can cut the oranges any way you want. I just wanted to be a little bit fancy, and I did what's commonly known as la suprême d'orange. It's something that I totally love hearing and saying. This is fresh fennel. I sliced it, chopped it. I wanted to have a bite. I wanted to make sure that when you bite into it, you can actually feel it. Why? I don't know if you've ever had fresh fennel before, but there is a freshness to it. It's almost like a licorice in a certain way, and it opens up your palate. It makes me smile. Why does it do that? I do not know, but the fennel in just about anything that I use it in reminds me of Sicily and always brings a smile on. Then here is something else that you did not expect, and those are black olives. You can use green olives if you want to. To these black olives, I've done something extremely important. Let's talk about it. There is no pit. Traditionally, this salad is made with the olives with the pit in it. I don't like it. I made mistakes before. I bit into the pit, and let me tell you, it is not good. Plus, it hurts a lot. This is feta cheese. You can also use goat cheese if you want, but I find the feta reflects into this combination a lot better. It really has a spike and a flavor of its own. At this point, if you wanted to, you could serve the salad, but that is not what I like. I have created a chiffonade of iceberg lettuce. Why? The crispiness of the iceberg lettuce mixed with all these other ingredients creates, in my opinion, a wonderful interaction of colors. At this point, if you wanted to, you can take two metal instruments and mix